The courtroom held its breath, a stillness so deep it seemed the walls themselves leaned in to listen. 5-year-old Aisha Monroe stepped through the towering wooden doors, her small dark hand trembling as it clutched the leash of Titan, a German shepherd with a jagged scar slicing down his flank like a lightning bolt. Her cornrows gleamed under the harsh lights, framing a face too young for the weight it carried. Every eye tracked her, jurors, spectators, the press as her sneakers scuffed hesitantly across the polished floor toward the witness stand. She was a black girl in a sea of scrutiny, her movements fragile yet resolute. Judge James Carter, a silver-haired veteran of the bench, leaned forward, his sharp gaze softening just a fraction. He knew the stakes. Aisha was the only witness to an attempted abduction, a case that could cage a predator for life or let him walk free. Her silence since that day hung like a guillotine over the trial. Across the room, Victor Lang sat at the defense table, his pale fingers drumming a smug rhythm, his software engineer facade masking something colder. Titan's ears flicked forward, his amber eyes locking onto the man with a predator's focus. Aisha climbed onto the witness chair, her green dress stark against the dark wood. She didn't speak, hadn't since the terror stole her voice, but her presence screamed louder than words. Titan settled beside her, a coiled spring of fur and muscle, his low growl a whisper of warning. The room shivered with it. Judge Carter's gavel hovered, poised to strike. This wasn't just a trial, it was a reckoning. And it hinged on a child who couldn't testify and a dog who just might. Before the silence, before the courtroom, Aisha Monroe was a spark of joy lighting up her family's modest Atlanta home. At 5, she was a chatterbox with a lilting laugh, her bright brown eyes dancing as she spun tales of princesses and dragons. Her cornrows bounced as she twirled in the backyard, a blur of energy in her favorite yellow sundress. Naomi Monroe, her mother, would watch from the kitchen window, a smile tugging at her lips, while Marcus Monroe, her father, promised her ice cream when he got home from his mechanic shift. She was their sunbeam, until Victor Lang cast his shadow. It was a golden spring afternoon, the air thick with jasmine and possibility. Aisha darted across the grass, chasing butterflies, her giggles floating like music. Naomi stepped inside to answer a call from her cousin in Charlotte. Just 4 minutes, she thought. She'd be right back. But at 3:47 p.m., the world cracked open. When Naomi returned, the gate hung ajar, a black van idling at the curb. A man knelt beside Aisha, his voice syrupy. "I've got puppies in there, special ones. Want to see?" Victor Lang's smile was a trap, his grip tightening as Aisha froze, her small body locked in terror. Clara Thompson, a gray-hailed widow strolling her poodle, saw it unfold. "Hey, leave her alone," she bellowed, her voice cutting through the haze. Victor's head jerked up, his charm shattering into something feral. He yanked Aisha's arm, but her instincts flared. She wrenched free and bolted. Naomi scooped her daughter into her arms as the van roared off, tires screeching. Aisha buried her face in her mother's chest, trembling. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. Her voice vanished, swallowed by fear. Detective Daniel Hayes arrived within minutes, his weathered face grim. An FBI veteran, he'd tracked child predators for decades, and this scene chilled him. "He fits the pattern," he muttered to his partner, Agent Lisa Brooks. 4 kids gone in 18 months, all lured with promises. Puppies, candy, lies. Clara offered a partial plate. Why has she stayed mute? Her tiny hands clutching Naomi's shirt. "Selective mutism," Lisa whispered. Traumas locked her voice away. Without words, the case teetered on whispers and guesses. Days bled into weeks. Aisha stopped playing, her crayons gathering dust. Nightmares jolted her awake, silent gasps replacing screams. Naomi and Marcus tried everything, storybooks, hugs, her stuffed elephant, but she retreated deeper, flinching at every passing car. "She's slipping away," Naomi sobbed one night, her voice raw. Marcus rubbed his temples. The therapist said, "A support animal might help." Naomi nodded, desperate. "Anything. I'd try anything." Enter Titan. Dr. Erica Lawson's animal rehab center smelled of pine and hope, a sanctuary for broken souls. Titan lay on an orthopedic bed, his deep brown eyes tracking every move. Once a canine star, he'd taken down killers, his instincts razor sharp. 3 years back, he'd leapt at a knife-wielding suspect during a raid, saving a kidnapped boy. The blade carved his flank, leaving a scar like a battle flag. His limp ended his career. The force slated him for euthanasia. Erica fought for him. "He's got heart left," she'd insisted. She was right. Naomi fidgeted in Erica's office, Aisha peeking from behind her legs. "Hi, Aisha," Erica said softly, kneeling. "I work with special dogs. They help kids who've seen scary things." Aisha's gaze flicked to Titan, his ears perked, but still. "He used to catch bad guys," Naomi added, smoothing Aisha's hair. "Like in your stories." Erica gestured. "Stay, Titan." He didn't budge. "You can reach out whenever you're ready," Erica told him. "No, wait." Minutes ticked by. Then Aisha stepped forward, her hand trembling as it stretched toward him. Erica nodded, and Titan eased closer, his warm breath brushing her palm. Aisha's fingers curled into his fur, a lifeline grasped. Naomi stifled a gasp, tears brimming. "Oh, baby girl." For the first time since that day, Aisha moved toward something, not away. Erica smiled. "He likes you, Aisha." Weeks later, they were inseparable. Aisha traced Titan's scar for hours, her nightmares easing against his steady heartbeat. One evening, as Titan fetched a ball in Erica's office, Aisha whispered, "Good boy." The words were faint, a breath of sound, but Naomi froze, tears spilling. "Did you hear that?" Erica squeezed her arm. She trusts him. Trust can bring her voice back. Neither knew how far that trust would carry them, straight into a courtroom where Titan would face the monster who'd silenced her. The courtroom buzzed like a hive on the brink of collapse, tension threading through the air like static. Aisha Monroe perched on the witness stand, dwarfed by its dark oak edges, her small fingers wound tight around Titan's leash. The German shepherd sat rigid beside her, his scarred flank a silent testament to battles won. Across the room, Victor Lang leaned back in his chair, his sharp gray eyes glinting with quiet arrogance. His attorney, Thomas Reed, adjusted his tie, ready to pounce. The gallery, packed with reporters, families, and skeptics, held its collective breath. Judge James Carter's voice cut through the hum. "Before we begin, we'll address the support animal." His tone was steel, measured. Thomas Reed rose smoothly. "Your Honor, we respect the need for comfort, but a German shepherd in court, it's prejudicial. Jurors will see a guard dog, not a pet. It sways them against my client. We request its removal." His words dripped with reason, a practiced plea. Rachel Evans, the prosecutor, shot to her feet. "Your Honor, Aisha's 5. She's a trauma survivor with selective mutism. Titan isn't a prop, he's medical necessity. He keeps her calm so she can testify. Without him, she shuts down." Her voice trembled with urgency, her dark eyes fierce. Judge Carter leaned back, his face a mask. "I've reviewed the psychologist's report. The dog stays." A ripple of murmurs swept the room, some nods, some scowls. Thomas Reed's jaw tightened, but he sat, flicking a glance at Victor, whose fingers tapped faster. The trial surged forward. Rachel painted Victor as a spider, weaving a web of deceit. Years of stalking, luring, vanishing. Clara Thompson took the stand, her voice quaking but firm. "I saw him grab her arm right by that van. He bolted when I shouted." Her finger jabbed toward Victor. The jury shifted, eyes narrowing. Victor didn't flinch, his smirk a thin veneer over something darker. Aisha watched, her breathing shallow, Titan's warmth anchoring her. Then came her moment. Naomi guided her to the stand, reluctance in every step. "You're safe, baby," she whispered, stepping back, her hands clenched. Rachel approached, her smile soft. "Hi, Aisha. I know this is hard. You don't have to talk if it's too much. Nod or shake your head, okay? We can stop any time." Aisha's gaze dropped to the table, but Titan pressed against her leg. She nodded once, faint but clear. Rachel's voice stayed gentle. "Was someone with you in the yard that day?" A hush fell, thick and heavy. Aisha hesitated, then lifted her arm, slow, deliberate, and pointed at Victor Lang. The room gasped. His smirk faltered, a crack in the mask, his jaw tightening like a spring. Thomas Reed leapt up. "Objection! She's been coached, shown his photo a dozen times. This is unreliable." Judge Carter's hand sliced the air. "Overruled. The jury decides her credibility." Rachel pressed on. Did he say anything to you?" Aisha didn't speak. Instead, her fingers twitched, a subtle sign taught in therapy. Titan's reaction was instant. His ears snapped forward, his body coiled, and a deep growl rumbled from his chest. It wasn't loud, just primal, a warning etched in bone. The jury stiffened, eyes wide. Victor shifted, his tapping fingers stilling. A juror whispered, "That dog knows something." Thomas Reed surged again, voice sharp. "Your Honor, this is theater. A growling dog proves nothing." But Judge Carter wasn't watching him. His eyes tracked Titan, then flicked to Aisha, who clung to the leash like it was her shield. The growl faded, but Titan's stare bore into Victor, unblinking, accusing. Rachel's co-counsel scribbled furiously, sensing a thread to pull. The gallery buzzed, speculation crackling like fire. Judge Carter's voice sharpened. "Miss Evans, has this dog met the defendant before?" Rachel blinked, caught off guard. "Not to my knowledge, Your Honor." He turned to Victor. "Mr. Lang, have you encountered this animal?" For the first time, Victor's calm fractured. His hands balled into fists, his silence loud. Rachel's mind raced, a spark igniting. She leaned to her team, whispering, "Check Titan's canine records now." An aide bolted from the room. Thomas Reed's patience snapped. "What's happening here?" Rachel straightened, her face unreadable. "Your Honor, I request a recess. We may have new evidence." Judge Carter studied her, then nodded. 15 minutes. The gavel cracked like thunder. The room erupted. Whispers, gasps, a reporter muttering, "Did that dog just break the case?" Victor's gaze darted to Titan, a flicker of panic betraying him. Thomas Reed hissed in his ear, but Victor waved him off, his mind spinning. That damn dog. He hadn't counted on it. Outside, Naomi knelt beside Aisha, smoothing her cornrows. "You okay, sweetheart?" Aisha didn't answer, just pressed into Titan's side, her small frame shaking. Daniel Hayes watched, his grizzled face taut. "That dog's spooked by Lang," he murmured to Judge Carter. "I'd stake my career he's seen him before." Judge Carter exhaled, his blue eyes narrowing. "Then we find out when." In the defense room, Victor's smugness curled into ice. "She didn't talk," he muttered. Thomas Reed frowned. "What?" Victor forced a grin. "Nothing," but his pulse hammered. Titan was unraveling him, and he knew it. The recess ticked down. Judge Carter adjusted his robes, a hunch gnawing at him. This wasn't coincidence. Titan's growl was a key, and he'd turn it until the lock broke. The dawn air bit sharp and cold as the search team rolled toward the northern woods, a caravan of steel and grit. Detective Daniel Hayes gripped the wheel, his knuckles white, while Titan sat in the back, ears pricked, nose twitching at scents only he could catch. Aisha stayed behind with Naomi, but Titan's leash bore her trust, her silent plea. Rachel Evans rode shotgun, poring over Titan's old canine files. Soil from Victor Lang's van had pointed them here. A remote cabin, a needle in the wilderness's haystack. "If he's hiding something," Daniel growled, "Titan'll find it." The cabin loomed into view, a weathered husk swallowed by pines. Silence clung to it, broken only by the wind's low moan. Dust coated the porch, but fresh boot prints trailed to the back, too recent for abandonment. Titan leapt from the truck, his body taut, tail rigid. He paced the threshold, a low growl vibrating through him. His hackles rose, fur bristling like a storm cloud. "This place reeks of wrong," Daniel muttered, drawing his weapon. He knows something's here. The team fanned out, boots crunching on gravel. Titan tugged Daniel forward, nose to the ground, then froze at the back door. His growl deepened, insistent. Rachel peered through a grimy window, empty table, a lone chair, shadows dancing in the gloom. "Looks deserted," she said, but her voice wavered. Daniel tested the door. Locked. He nodded to Officer Patel, who rammed it open with a crack that echoed like a gunshot. Titan surged inside, claws clicking on warped wood. The air stank of mildew and something sour. A cot sagged in one corner, tin cans stacked beside it. Someone had been here, and not long ago. Titan circled, sniffing, then stopped dead near the back wall. His ears flicked, eyes locked on a seam in the floorboards, faint but unnatural. Daniel crouched, rapping his knuckles. Hollow. "There's a space under here," he said, voice tight. Patel grabbed a crowbar, prying the boards loose with a groan of splintered wood. A narrow staircase spiraled down, a throat of darkness swallowing the light. The team descended, flashlights slicing through the damp chill. Titan whined, straining ahead, his breath puffing in the cold. The basement yawned open, a crypt of despair. Children's toys littered the floor, a deflated ball, a torn doll, small shoes caked in dirt. Rachel's beam caught a faded purple backpack, and her stomach dropped. "Lena Grayson's," she whispered. "Missing 6 months." Daniel's jaw clenched. He's been at this too long. Then Titan froze, his whine rising to a keening pitch. In the farthest corner, a shape stirred, frail, chained to the wall. A girl, pale as moonlight, her ragged clothes hanging off her like ghosts. Lena Grayson, 8 years old, lifted her head, eyes wide with terror and hope. "Help!" she croaked, voice raw, barely audible. Titan lunged, paws skidding until Daniel held him back. "Easy, boy." He knelt, snapping the chains with bolt cutters. "You're safe, Lena. We've got you." She collapsed into his arms, trembling, her thin fingers digging into his jacket. Tears streaked her dirt-smudged face. "He kept me here," she rasped. "Said no one find me." Rachel knelt beside her, voice soft. "Who, Lena?" The girl's gaze hardened. "The man with the van." Daniel scooped her up, her weight feather-light, and carried her toward the stairs. Titan followed, his growls gone, replaced by a protective stance. Guardian, not hunter. Outside, the team radioed for medics, the forest alive with their urgency. Daniel set Lena on a stretcher, her small hand clutching his sleeve. "Don't leave," she begged. He squeezed her fingers. "Not going anywhere, kid." Titan pressed against her, nosing her hand, and she managed a faint smile. Rachel watched, her chest tight. "She's alive because of him," she said, nodding at Titan. Daniel's eyes narrowed, and he recognized Lang, bet my badge on it. Back at the truck, Rachel flipped through Titan's file, her finger stopping on a faded report. 3 years ago, a raid in Macon. Titan took down a suspect, knife scar, case tied to a child trafficking ring. Suspect got away. She looked up, voice sharp. Lang's build matches, same MO, vans, lures. Daniel's face darkened. Titan never forgets a scent. That's our link. The pieces snapped together. Victor Lang wasn't just a lone predator. He was a ghost from Titan's past, resurfaced to haunt them all. The ride back crackled with purpose. Lena's rescue was a beacon, but the war wasn't won. Victor Lang sat in that courtroom, smug and untouchable, until now. Titan's instincts had cracked the case wide open, and the evidence in that basement would bury him. Daniel glanced at the dog in the rear view, his scar glinting in the dawn light. "Good boy," he muttered. Titan's tail thumped once, a soldier ready for the final fight. The courthouse thrummed with a restless energy, the gallery swollen with onlookers as word of Lena Grayson's rescue spread like wildfire. Victor Lang sat at the defense table, his once steady hands now twitching, his gray eyes darting to the doors. Titan lay at Aisha Monroe's feet, his amber gaze fixed on the man who'd haunted his past. Naomi Monroe held her daughter close, her breath shallow, while Marcus Monroe stood behind them, a pillar of quiet strength. Judge James Carter took the bench, his stern face unreadable, the gavel poised like a judge's sword. Rachel Evans rose, her voice ablade. "Your Honor, new evidence ties Victor Lang to a cabin where Lena Grayson was found alive, chained but breathing. Soil from his van matches the site, his DNA's on the chains. Tire tracks line up." She turned, facing Victor. "Mr. Lang, how do you explain a child locked in your basement?" The room stilled, every ear straining. Victor stammered. I don't know what you're talking about." His voice cracked, a lie unraveling. Rachel pressed harder. "Lena's here to testify. She remembers your face, your van, your voice. And Titan? He knew you the second he saw you. 3 years ago, Macon raid. You slipped away then, not now." Victor's attorney, Thomas Reed, whispered fiercely, but Victor's mask was crumbling. Sweat beaded on his brow, his fingers gripping the table's edge. The jury leaned forward, eyes sharp, catching every flinch. Then Titan stirred. His hackles rose, a low growl rolling through the silence. He stepped forward, slow and deliberate, his stare piercing Victor like a spear. the room froze. Victor recoiled, a visceral flinch that screamed guilt. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Thomas Reed shot up. "Your Honor!" But Victor cut him off, voice barely a whisper. "I want to change my plea." The words hung heavy, a confession torn free. Judge Carter's gaze darkened. "Mr. Lang, you're pleading guilty?" Victor nodded, shoulders slumping. "Yes." The courtroom erupted. Shouts, sobs, a reporter scrambling for her phone. Rachel exhaled, triumph tempered by exhaustion. Thomas Reed sank into his seat, defeated. Judge Carter's gavel slammed down. "Victor Lang, you're sentenced to life without parole. Court adjourned." Justice landed like thunder, final and fierce. Days later, the Monroe home glowed with a fragile peace. Aisha sat on the floor, Titan's head in her lap, her small hands framing his scarred face. Naomi watched, tears brimming, as Marcus knelt beside them. "Thank you," Aisha whispered, her voice soft but clear, the first words in weeks. Naomi gasped, a sob breaking free. "Oh, baby girl." Marcus pulled them close, his deep voice rumbling. "You're back with us." Titan's tail wagged, a slow, steady beat, his eyes warm with understanding. Outside, the world buzzed with the story. A predator caged, a child saved, a dog's loyalty rewriting the ending. But inside, it was quieter. Aisha traced Titan's scar, her smile tentative but growing. Naomi squeezed Marcus's hand. "She's healing," she murmured. He nodded. Because of him. Titan nuzzled Aisha, a bond forged in darkness now shining in light. The nightmares would fade, the silence would lift, and through it all Titan would stand guard. A hero on 4 legs, proving some fights are won with heart alone.